standing on holy ground, feeling the grace of knowing there is only God. And we say yes to life, and we say yes to love, knowing that heaven is within us right here and now. And we say yes to life, and we say yes to love. In this sacred sanctuary we are one. Welcome home.
Can you feel the love on this
Holy ground, standing on holy ground. Nothing can divide us. Love will always guide us. Holy ground, standing on holy ground, feeling the grace of knowing there is only God. And we say yes to life, and we say yes to love, knowing that heaven is within us right here and now. And we say yes to life, and we say yes to love. In this sacred sanctuary we are one. Welcome home.
Can you feel the joy?
Welcome home.
Welcome home. Can you feel the peace?
Welcome home.
Welcome. Can you feel the joy?
In this sacred sanctuary we are one. In this blessed sanctuary we are one. In this loving sanctuary we are one. Welcome home.
Good morning. Oh, there's more of you out there than that. Let's say it louder. I'm starting to sound Irish, so let's go for a little bit louder. Good morning. Thank you. It's wonderful to see you all here today in the room, and also everyone that is joining us online. I want to say thank you to this spiritual community that is greater than the walls that we live in, that is greater than what looks like the limitations of space and time. And I am so grateful that we can be seen online, and you don't even necessarily have to show up right at 11 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. It's like, hey. So I do want to say thank you to the people that make that possible, and starting with Amanda, who's doing our AV today. Yay, wonderful. And Danny is our host today. How wonderful to have him doing that and being the face of the Sanctuary for Spiritual Living to the people that are coming in online, greeting you and giving you information about the service. Wonderful to have him being that welcoming presence. I also want to say thank you to Christy Cohen and David Olivas, who are our music today. Yes, wonderful. And so good to have you back and to be looking forward to our music. Christy and I talked a little bit this morning. I have a little bit of a preview, and I'm excited. Our music is always fabulous. And our practitioner today is Steve Cisanto. Yes. So grateful, Steve. And Steve gave a pre-service meditation at 10:30 this morning. If you are in the area at 10:30, please consider stopping by and being in that meditation. Our practitioners do a wonderful job of setting the tone for the day through that meditation, and then again as the invocation in our service. They also, when someone is practitioner of the day, they are willing to pray with you after service. And so if you are wanting individualized prayer, you can meet Steve at the west side of the sanctuary after service, and he will be happy to pray with you. You can also turn in prayer requests, And those you can go in online at www.somchurch.org and fill out the form for prayer and send it on. I will get that and send it straight to our Ministry of Prayer. I also want to say a thank you today for Christy Gibbons, who is our coordinator for the potluck today. And so really grateful that that's Pat's daughter. Everybody's got a name, right? She is Pat's daughter. And while Pat is in Maine, she is doing the potluck on her own with the able assistance of anybody that brought a little bit of something to share with everyone, because it is a potluck after all. We do have a vision statement that guides us. It is on the front of your program, and if you would, and Danny is putting it up online so that you can also say it at home. And please repeat with me. We are a vibrant, loving community and an inspirational resource for spiritual awakening and personal growth. And that is what we are. I love it. So, I want to say thank you to everybody that is here today, because it is as spiritual community that we heal. And woke up to news this morning that Lindsey Graham had passed last night after just getting back from Ukraine. And that was an unexpected event. And then I also got an email from somebody who had lost a brother in the last few days in an unexpected event. And these things remind me how important our love is in the present moment, to always be willing to love each other and to remember that who you love, that they are precious, that life is precious. And so I just remind us of that as I lift all of us in prayer, because whether you agree with somebody's opinions, you can agree that their life is holy and that they are doing what they know to do to bring forward what they see as the best and the highest. So let's say thank you to everyone that we love and that we care for. And remember that life itself is sacred. Treat yourself like it's that way, and treat others in the same manner. All right, I'm done with that lecture. Sorry, just needing to say it. It is time for our song of the month. So, so the song is Holy Ground, different than the song that we sing that is Holy Ground. One is with a W, that means that it's whole, perfect, and complete. That's the one we're about to sing. And the other one is holy as in the divine presence. The ground is actually holy itself. I understand. I was like, didn't we just do that? It's the second holy ground.
Sing it with me too. The words are there. Everywhere I am is holy ground, for I walk in God. Everywhere I am is holy ground, for the power and the presence of your Spirit makes my path gentle and easy. Gentle, easy, gentle, easy. Here we go. Everywhere I am is holy ground. I live in love. Everywhere I am is holy ground, for the power and the presence of your Spirit gentle and easy. Let me hear you sing. Gentle, so gentle, easy. Gentle, easy, yes. Everywhere we stand is holy ground. We stand in peace. Everywhere we stand is holy ground. For the power and the presence of pure spirit makes our lives gentle and easy. Here we go again. Gentle, easy. Let me hear you sing. Easy. Yeah, one more time. Here we go. Everywhere I am is holy ground. Big one. I dance in joy. Everywhere I am is holy ground. From the power and the presence of pure spirit just makes our lives gentle and easy. Gentle, easy, yes it is. Gentle, come on now, easy.
Good morning. I hope you can hear me. You can hear me fine, right? Good. All right. So you might have a little trouble finding the affirmation, but it's in there if you take a look. I'll give you a little time to find it. Okay. The affirmation. Please repeat with me, or please say it with me. My religion is of today, for my God is present today. I allow the mind of God to direct my path. New ideas are mine to choose and to use. All blessings are mine to share. I am radiant with the possibilities of the now. All is well. Ernest Holmes. Okay. Please please close your eyes and take a soft focus on something beautiful in the room, so we can start our invocation. God is the divine source of all life. God is spirit. God is right here, right now. I know that we are all one with this divine source of love, of peace, of joy, of harmony. I know that God blesses each and every one of us here today in this room or online. I know that we are all one with this divine spirit. And I know that God blesses Chris with divine inspiration for this service today, and imparts all the divine wisdom that she has for us. I know that we are all open and receptive to the wisdom, to the message, and that God blesses each and every one of us. And God blesses all our volunteers, everyone here, Reverend Chris, and myself. So for these truths I do give thanks, and I release this prayer into the law, knowing that it is so right here and now. And so it is. Amen.
I'm a Yankee Doodle dandy, a Yankee Doodle do or die, a real live nephew of my Uncle Sam, born on the 4th of July. I've got a Yankee Doodle sweetheart, she's my Yankee Doodle joy. Yankee Doodle came to London just to ride the pony. I am that Yankee Doodle boy. You're a grand old flag, you're a high-flying flag, and forever in peace may you wave. You're the emblem of the land I love, the home of the free and the brave. Every heart beats true neath the wet, bright, and blue, where there's never a boast or brag. But should old acquaintance be forgot, keep your eye on that grand old flag. God bless America, land that I love. You can sing with me. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above, from the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, our home, sweet home.
Thank you, Christy. I love that. It just stirs my heart to hear that type of old-time music. It's a good thing. So, today, we are still, this whole month, we are looking at the things that stand behind, the spiritual principles that stand behind the idea of the United States of America. And I've been using, and will continue to use next week, the Declaration of Independence, because it stands for so much, and it has ideals in it that, as we work with them, become more and more present. This is the nature of spiritual concepts and ideals. They desire to be expressed in the world. The whole purpose of this world is to express the divine. And that means embedded in everything, in every person, place, and thing, are ideals that we stand for. And the more that we consider them and contemplate them, the greater our understanding of them and our experience of them in the presence of this time. And so the forefathers, they wrote not out of nothing. They wrote out of a conversation that had been happening about ideals for the world since the beginning of time, actually. And, Socrates had this concept of ideals that wanted to come forward. You saw in ancient Greece a concept of Lady Liberty, a concept of something being portrayed as a goddess because it was such a high ideal. And as you come forward into the time of our Declaration of Independence, philosophers and political commentary had been speaking to these ideas very much, because here you are in a time of kings where the countries are all being ruled by one person who has absolute authority. That has been modified a little bit in England because the knights and the nobility had come forward wanting a say in what the government was. And so there was a parliament, but that was not extended to everyone. And one of the complaints of the early settlers of our country was that they did not have representation in the government that was making the decisions about how to tax them and what laws they would live under. And so finally, this gets to such a point that the people that we call our founding fathers put together a Declaration of Independence. And a large part of the writing was done by Thomas Jefferson, but there was a committee that reviewed it, and they did change some of the words. And I don't want to, I don't want to make it sound like Jefferson had this the only idea, because he said later that he was not saying anything new, that he was really trying to consolidate these ideas that had been flowing around and had actually shown up in some of the documentation that was forming the rule of the various colonies. And so it's intriguing to me that they came up together, and this does show, if you look at the original draft and you see editorial changes, that Benjamin Franklin had an input into some of the selection of the words in this second sentence. But this sentence is considered to be one of the most influential sentences that has ever been written, and has stood as an ideal that other countries have taken and considered and tried to look to bring forward into their own being. So we stand on something very sacred in this document, and I want to read that sentence to you, because if in fact it is the greatest sentence that's ever been written, it means that there is something in here that is extremely powerful, that captures the concepts, even though they were not brought forward perfectly at that time, nor are they being brought forward perfectly now, because the nature of spiritual ideals is that they get expressed, and then we look and we struggle with, what does that really mean? So the sentence, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And so last week we worked on the concept of life. What does it mean? And this week we're going to look at liberty. What does that one single word mean? Because it is greater than we may think of it as a passing idea. We may use it without paying attention to what and how does that impact me. What is it and how does it impact me? And what's it mean to have true liberty? And I wanted to bring forward a statement. John Steinbeck wrote this in his book, East of Eden. And I'm struck by this, because every person has to determine what you will fight for in life, what values, what spiritual values are so important to you that you would take a stand on them. And so he wrote, "This I believe, that the free, exploring mind of the individual human is the most valuable thing in the world. Your mind, your ability to have the liberty to think deeply about anything that you desire, to choose what you think about, that you can explore, the most valuable thing in the world. He continued, and this I would fight for. The freedom of the mind to take any direction it wishes, undirected. And this I must fight against. Any idea, religion, or government which limits or destroys it. The individual, this is what I am and what I am about. I can understand why a system built on a pattern must try to destroy the free mind. For this is one thing which can by inspection destroy such a system. Notice that. It's like only your mind can actually destroy the system that is used in governance, and that's certainly what was happening at the time of the Revolutionary War. Surely I can understand this, and I hate it, and I will fight against it to preserve the one thing that separates us from the uncreative beast. If the glory can be killed, we are lost. And so he's fighting for that independence of mind, the liberty to think and to think deeply and to express it, not to have it held down by a system that says that only if you agree with the power that be are you allowed to speak. And so I looked up liberty in Wikipedia because I always like to consider, what does that word really mean, you know? Oftentimes we think that we understand a divine ideal or a word that we use without having a real clear idea of what does it mean. And we may even intersperse it or take it and switch it out with another word. And we tend to do this with the word freedom and liberty. And yet, Wikipedia says that there's a difference between these two words, that they're not just like equal, which I think in the modern mind, most of us think it is. And so, I just noticed that. So Wikipedia says that liberty is the state of being free within a society from restrictions imposed by authority on one's way of life, behavior, or political views, which means we have the right to hold our individuality as sacred. In the constitutional law of the United States, ordered liberty means creating a balanced society where individuals have the freedom to act without unnecessary interference and access to opportunities and resources to pursue their goals. This is called positive liberty. All within a fair legal system. So we get this right to pursue our goals within a fair legal system, meaning that justice is applied fairly, equally to all. Liberty is differentiated from freedom by using the word freedom primarily, if not exclusively, to mean the ability to do as one wills and what one has the power to do. Using the word liberty to mean the absence of arbitrary restraints, taken into account the rights of all involved. So liberty actually begins to work with the concept of laws that structure some of what we do without taking away the ability to choose where we're going and what we're doing. So I lost my place. So taking into account the rights of all involved, and I think that that's an important piece because, see, we don't have the right to hurt someone else just because I have the ability to do that. I don't have the right to do that, and that's what laws are about. And so he said, it continues, in this sense, the exercise of liberty is subject to capability and limited by the rights of others. Thus, liberty entails the responsible use of freedom under the rule of law without depriving anyone else of their freedom. Liberty can be taken away as a form of punishment. And we see that. You know, if somebody breaks the law, if they harm another person, if they try to take away the rights of another person, they can be tried. If proven guilty, they can be imprisoned. Now, when I was in school, I remember I had an 8th grade teacher, and she was quite a character. Her name was Mrs. Steiner, and she was a real character. But she would stand up in front of the class at various times during the year that I was in her classes, and she would say, and she was not a sweet young thing. She was probably, well, she was younger than me because she would have retired by my age, but hey. But she would stand up and she would do this. She'd flay her arms, and she'd say, I have the right to do this if I want. I can walk down the street and do this anytime I want. I have that total right. And it stops at your nose. Meaning I don't have the right to just flay my arms if I hit you, even if that's by accident, because I was acting in a way that was obviously going to take away your freedom, right? So that space of beginning to understand that there's a role here of freedom and recognizing a constriction. And it's intriguing because Ernest Holmes tells us that we have freedom under law, under spiritual law. The law that says what I give out comes back to me. The law that says that where I am in mind is going to create where I am in the world and how I interpret the world. The law that is always operating, always creative, and we are always setting it in force today. I'm free to determine how I'm going to do that. And what I know about the law is that it doesn't operate as me directing something at someone else. It operates instead as a reciprocal universe giving me what I put out. And so when I put out fear, what I get back are lots of things to be afraid of. When I put out love, what I get back are lots of things and people to fall in love with. And so I wanted to talk a bit about how other people have brought forward this idea into form in our history, because together we have been making this country from 1776 onward. And we continue because the nature of creation and the nature of your mind is plastic, therefore very mobile, and nothing is cement, or even if it was, it's cement before it's set up, that everything is fluid. Now, we don't always have an idea of that, but we can see how change takes place, how movement happens, how things change from something that we may have assumed to something else. And I wanted to talk about Franklin Delano Roosevelt, because he's really an interesting man in our history. You know, he is a distant cousin to Teddy Roosevelt, who was president, and he becomes president. But prior to that, you know, he was like a very vital young man, and had all of life in front of him. He seemed to have a silver spoon in his mouth because he was born to enough wealth and influence in his family to get a good education and to have a lot of opportunity. But then he was stricken by polio in 1921. And that left him crippled. It left him disabled. he couldn't walk well. He had to, when he did walk, he had braces on his legs. Most of the time, that was downplayed at the request of political offices and things, because we had a prejudice. We have a prejudice that somebody that is the president of our country or is a strong political figure should also have the appearance of physical strength in their body. And he couldn't walk without aid. And so they would show him and not show the wheelchair. They would show him and not show the crutches. But it's intriguing that when he was recovering from polio, he would wear these heavy, heavy braces and try to walk down his driveway to get more mobility. And he did that over and over, trying to take a step further each day to build his strength back up so that he would at least have some freedom of movement. Now, he also came to understand how hard life can be for us. He came to understand that there are people that suffer and that have to have the opportunity and the freedom to recover and to have help and assistance. And he began to have an awareness of the plight of the ordinary person because he could identify it with his struggle to regain his health to such a way that he would be able to go forward and do the things he felt that he was born to do. So he decided to run for president in 1932. And this was the first time that he ran for office. And what's going on in the country? 1932, the Depression is hitting. Herbert Hoover, who was the previous president, had been, and the Republican Party had been trying to deal with the effects of the Depression by doing what was called a top-down approach, which meant that if you saved the banks and you put tariffs on the import of goods, that would encourage and save and protect business, and that ultimately that good would filter down to the person who was starving on the streets. It wasn't getting there very fast. We noticed that. It wasn't actually getting there, and the people that were the common people were the ones that were losing their homes, were losing the farms, were losing their way of life. And so they were the ones that were affected. He wanted to offer a new way. But he was straightforward with the American people. He didn't say this way was going to be easy. But he said, let me assert my firm belief that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself, nameless, unreasoning, unjustified terror, which paralyzes needed efforts to convert retreat into advance. So he didn't promise that this would be simple, easy, I can just fix it, only I can fix it. He didn't promise anything like that. What he did instead was say, this is going to take strength from all of us, but we can do this together. Now, I look at this sentence and I think that's got to be one of the best metaphysical sentences ever said in the political arena in this country. And why? Because he knows the only thing that's the problem is what we are afraid of. And that is not only true politically for the country as a whole, but it is true for each one of us individually. When we are willing to recognize what am I afraid of, we begin to see where we doubt that God is present. We begin to see where we create our own limitation, our own lack. And we begin to recognize that I can free myself from this fear. And it's what we have to do. It's where we have to affirm the presence of God in our life in this very moment, even in the face of what I think is fearful. And so I just have to say that I think we should listen to that. What am I afraid of? What am I believing about this situation that I think is greater than God? What quality of God is hidden within this situation, desiring to be brought forward so that I can actually free myself from the belief in lack and limitation that is limiting my liberty, limiting me. And so that's the work that we do individually. It's the work we have to do collectively. But if you don't do it individually, you can't do it collectively. And so the work begins with each individual deciding to face their own fear and to step out on faith and to hold to that faith. During his first two terms, Roosevelt did move forward, and he worked to bring the country out of the Depression. He created what was called the New Deal, and this was Social Security and other programs that were designed to help the average person, and they still help us today. That idea that we should look for the common good and work with that to be sure that the country was strong. He served 2 terms getting all of those things there, and as they're coming out of the Depression, he actually was thinking about not running again, but it was 1941, and he felt that there was a need to, actually it was 38, but he felt there was a need for him to work and to run. And so in 40, he ran for president again. He was reelected for a 3rd term. This is one of the reasons there are now laws against three terms. But he was reelected. And at that time, he had been watching, now that the country was stable, he was watching what was happening in the neighborhood called Planet Earth. And he was seeing what was going on in Europe and in Japan. He was noticing that there was a problem with the way that these dictators were present and moving. You had Hitler in Germany, you had Mussolini in Italy, you had the Emperor of Japan, and they were actually looking to spread and to expand their kingdoms and to create more of a fascist front. And this concerned him because this was the opposite to freedom for him. And he felt that at some point, even though America was thinking we shouldn't get involved, that we would have to because of the way it was going to affect the world. So in 1941, he wanted to build a base of understanding of what liberty was and what were the basis of what freedom entailed. What were the things that you considered automatically your right? And he gave a speech that has been known now as the 4 Freedoms. And he said, "For there is nothing mysterious about the foundations of a healthy and strong democracy. The basic things expected by our people of their political and economic systems are simple. They are equality of opportunity for youth and for others." So right there, he's saying in 1941, where we have a whole lot of discrimination, Jim Crow acts, all sorts of things that are holding down people, he's saying, guess what? There should not be. That we shouldn't be basing ideas on what race somebody was in or what their sexuality was, but that in fact, or even what their gender was, but in fact, that there should be opportunity for everybody. And again, imperfectly done at that time, but growing as an idea that became the civil rights movement and other pieces that come out of the yearning not for something to be given to you, but to have an opportunity to prove your ability. Have the opportunity. Then he said, jobs for those who can work, security for those who need it, the ending of special privilege for the few, the preservation of civil liberties for all, the enjoyment of the fruits of scientific progress in a wider and consistently rising standard of living. These are the simple, basic things that must never be lost sight of in the turmoil and the unbelievable complexity of our modern world. And he thought it was complex in 41? Oh, man. The inner and abiding strength of our economic and political systems is dependent upon the degree to which they fulfill these expectations. You see, you start with the spiritual understanding, and then you look, how does that come into the world? How do I perfect that? And how does it then become the experience of everyone? In the future days, which we seek to make secure, we look forward to a world founded upon 4 essential human freedoms. The first is the freedom of speech and expression everywhere in the world. Notice he didn't say that's just for Americans, that should be here for everyone. The second is freedom of every person to worship God in his own way, everywhere in the world. The freedom of religion, encoded into the Constitution. That idea that you have the right to explore how you believe, what you believe about God, and what are the tools and the ways that you experience that religion. That's very important. The third is freedom from want, which translated into world terms means economic understandings which will secure to every nation a healthy peacetime life for its inhabitants everywhere in the world. It's just, he's bringing this forward for the world. It's a global vision. How amazing. The fourth is freedom from fear, which translated into world terms means a worldwide reduction of armaments to such a point and in such a thorough fashion that no nation will be in a position to commit an act of physical aggression against any neighbor anywhere in the world. This is his statement still. That is no vision of a distant millennium. It is a definite basis for a kind of world obtainable in our own time and generation. That kind of world is the very antithesis of the so-called new order of tyranny which the dictators seek to create with the crash of a bomb. And so he's taking a stand that we need to be about good in our world. Widening the idea of what does it mean to have liberty, and to understand it and see, not only is it a divine ideal in my mind, it moves into a way of being in my world that grants it not only to me, but to others, that brings it forward as something that we can consider. What does it mean to be free from fear? This is so big. In the science of mind, we practice a much deeper idea of liberty, and it is the freedom to be truly regenerative from our human heart, to listen to what does the heart tell me is mine to do, and to bring that forward into the world in a new way. Through our treatment work, our prayer, our intimate inner dialogue with the spirit that is within us, it shapes who we are, what we express, and the life that we create. For we are agents of the future. We create that future. We make it from what we are doing, thinking, being right now. We need not be bound by past programming. This is extremely important because, you know, by the time you're about 2.5, you've figured out that there are certain things in the world that are going to bring about certain results, and you might be wrong. But you think that that's true for you. And you take that into your life and you make that how you respond to the world. And so we want to know that we can be free from that past programming. We can be free of the external noise or the collective stories. That we are born free and living free. And you see, your consciousness is completely unrestricted to co-create entirely new possibilities with the divine presence, with that law that is always working. And so our daily faith in the way that we practice our spiritual practices, for our care for both ourselves and for others, these are how we create. And we want to breathe liberty into our highest aspirations. We want to know the life of these ideals that we carry. Our mental atmosphere is the same for us individually as it is for the collective. And so when enough of us gather together to believe and to take on certain ideas, they become form in the collective that is our experience of life as a country and as a world. So we want to notice that we can use the things that are going on in the world to be a metaphor for what is happening in our own life, and use that metaphor as a pathway to how we can free ourselves. And I think it's interesting that here we are with what is going on with Iran, where you can't even get back to who threw the first punch, because you'd have to go back years and years and years and decades to figure that out. And so it's like, you know, have you ever been involved with somebody that, I don't know, we've been fighting for so long, I can't remember what we were fighting over, right? That space of noticing that we can get trapped in that thinking process that says, you struck me, I strike you, you strike me, I strike you, and we don't get free from it. This renewed fighting that we're seeing is a metaphor for how old wounds that we carry can become new battles in our daily life. For the same pattern lives within us that is out there in the world. We can carry a quarrel. Anybody ever done this? Have you ever been mad at somebody and they don't even have to be in the room and you're fighting with them? It's in your mind. You know, it's not just me. Tell me it's not just me, right? You know, it's like, and they did me wrong, and rah, 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 and I didn't, and they're not even anywhere close. Not only that, they're not even thinking about me. But I sure got them on my mind. And that space, I'm giving them like rent-free space in my head, and that's what we do. But when we wake up to it, we have the ability to free ourselves from it, and we have the tools that we need to do it. This is the most important thing. Because you see, we oftentimes will rehearse our offense, the offense that has happened to us. We'll strengthen our case. How many of you have decided that, you know, I'm right to be upset, right? And we forget that what I give out, I get back. And that when I think fully and only about retaliation, what I get back is plenty of stuff retaliating against me. We forget that. We forget that that's not the way to freedom of mind, that pathway will just circle us down the drain. And so what we have to do is break free from the obsessive thought. Not always easy, but we have tools. The first one that I always go to is prayer, because I need to know that God's present in this, that my business is not fixing that guy out there, but fixing me. that my business is not trying to tinker around with somebody else, but to notice where I am going and what I'm putting out, because that's what I'm getting back. And so I need to be willing to take a look and own and be responsive to what is it that's mine. And then what do I want instead? And I may not know how to get there. But I'll tell you, when I'm really upset with somebody else, what I really want is love, because I'm afraid I'm not very lovable. And what I really want is love. And so I have to be willing to become that I desire, to send forward that I desire to someone else, to pray for them to have the thing that I think would be wonderful for me to have, and to also work with forgiveness. Forgiveness for myself, for being caught in this snare, and forgiveness for the other person for not knowing a better way to act or to be. Because you see, forgiveness is this thing that actually frees us from the lack and limitation, frees us from the upset and the problem. It is the thing that actually will move us into a new way of being. And so when we do our forgiveness work, when we're willing to release the resentment, to release the desire for revenge, to release the whole situation, and to move and pay attention to what I'm supposed to be about. You know, one of the things that's going on when you're having that argument inside yourself, you're not creating the new thing and the new life that you want. Instead, you're stuck in the old one. And if you want to move into the new one, you have to be about that work. And so you have to free your mind up, because it's the only way you can create something new. And so when we forgive, and this comes from a man named Lewis Smeals, he says to forgive is to set a prisoner free and discover that the prisoner was you. You know, we always think that, you know, I've got this guy, you know, it's him I'm making miserable. But it's you you're making miserable. You're the prisoner to that thought process. And so when we release that, we move forward. And, you know, I remember in the 60s, there was a poster that I decided was like really the way I wanted to live my life. And it has this man, he's in riding crops. You know, I mean, he looks like he just got off like a horse, you know. And he's standing with his foot on a Mercedes, you know, he's like all smart. And so he's standing up and he's smoking a cigarette in a holder, because at that time that was supposed to be good. You know, now the image would be changed for sure. But it's he's in front of the unemployment office. And the sign says, "Living well is the best revenge." And I love that sign. I'm like, you know what? You're free to go be crazy if you want. I am not taking that on. I am going to be about my own life and living well. And you get to go play your own game, because it's not mine. And so that choice to be free, which brings us to Nelson Mandela, who said, "May your choices reflect your hopes, not your fears." May your choices reflect your hopes, not your fears. And Nelson Mandela's birthday is next Saturday. They've declared that, the UN has declared that Nelson Mandela Day. And it's to celebrate annually this man who did such an amazing thing in South Africa. For he was born in 1918, and he spent 27 years in prison for the crime of being black, basically, because he opposed apartheid and the country's system of racial suppression that was going on. When he emerged, he called not for revenge, but for forgiveness and unity. This is how a nation can model the awareness of the individual. And he said he led South Africa through a peaceful transition to democracy. And he earned the Nobel Peace Prize in 1993. And he brought forward the idea of social justice and reconciliation instead of revenge. He dedicated his time to service and standing up for human dignity. And that's what is called for on this particular day, next Saturday. It reminds us that even one person with courage and compassion and conviction can help heal a nation and inspire the world. He said that when he walked out of prison, that he remembered and realized that he could get stuck in the revenge, or he could leave that idea in the prison cell and be free in his mind as well as in his body, to do the right thing, to love, to build a nation based on that. So we are at a time where we need to be doing our own work. We need to be freeing ourselves to a standard of liberty that may be different than we've been experiencing recently. We need to grow our understanding of what does it mean to be free, to understand and become self-aware of where am I spending my thought process, my time, and my creative energy, and do I really want that? I mean, for me, it's like, do I really want what I'm thinking about? Because that's going to lead me where, you know? And where would I rather go? I'd rather be about the good that I want to experience in life. And so we make those choices. And we decide, I'm willing to do the forgiveness work. I'm willing to release me, the prisoner. I'm willing to be free. And I'm willing to hold a space for this to not only be for me, but like Roosevelt said, everywhere in the world. We can hold that. We do not, one of the things that's a misunderstanding about forgiveness often is we think that it gives permission for the other person to do it again. It does not. You can have strong boundaries without losing, without having to be angry. When I realized you didn't have to be mad to be right, it was really good. You know, it was really freeing. And so we can set good boundaries. We can have a sense of freedom inside. We don't have to, you know, we can know that somebody's not safe for us to be around without having to make them the enemy. They're just a child of God doing what they know how to do best, and we don't have to come at it from that. So here we are, looking for the liberty to be our highest self and to bring that into the world as a model and have others come to see that light and let it infect them in the same way that liberty has infected us. Thank you. Christy.
Born free as the wind blows, as free as the grass grows, born free to follow your heart. And if you live free, then beauty surrounds you. The world still but only worth living when you are free.
Thank you, Christy. It's time for our prayer, and so I'm simply inviting you to close your eyes if it's comfortable for you. Or take a soft focus on our beautiful mural, or if you're at home, something you find beautiful in your home. And simply know that God is. God is present right here and right now. This divine presence is moving in and through, around, and as every person, place, and thing. For there is nothing other than God. And God is life itself. That energy that is consistently vibrating through every cell of creation, that wisdom that is part of every single cell, that love intelligence that is moving within every cell of creation. God present in this moment, expressing through and as its creation in an ongoing process of magnificence. God present right here and now. That perfect love that cast out fear. That perfect love that is the great compassion of the universe. That perfect love that is the passion, that is the spark of creation. Proclaims, let there be this that I love. Let there be. Let there be light. And there is. God present right now, whole and holy being, lacking nothing, expressing all things, fully free to be itself. Each of us made in the image and likeness of God. Within us, that divine voice, that intuition that calls forward the divine ideal so that we may contemplate it and create it in our own lives. Each one of us, creative by our nature, proclaiming our world into being. Let there be. Let there be love, life, vitality. Let there be abundance and prosperity for all. Each of us bringing forward and proclaiming the perfect peace that passes understanding. Guided by that intuition that allows us to know what is mine to do and what is not. Each one of us having within us the kingdom of heaven and the tools to get there. In this moment, I proclaim peace of mind, love, life, and liberty. I see this coming forward in our neighborhoods and in ourselves as a harmony in our relationships, a divine song of life, moving in rhythm with our daily activity. I know each one free to contemplate and create, to focus on their desire. And so we allow ourselves that freedom and grant it to others. In this moment, we turn to love, releasing negativity, to move into the flow of life and the ease and grace of creation. Our bodies are strengthened by vitality, by life itself as it flows through us. Our minds are clear and productive as we release hesitation or repeated thoughts of negativity and enter into a new pattern of being. And we proclaim the good that we desire, not just for ourselves, but for all. And so we become a beneficial presence for our neighborhoods, for our families, for our business places, for our experience of life. We send forth a blessing in this moment to this beautiful planet that we live on, this beautiful blue pearl that spins in space. We see it whole, perfect, and complete, and we see the light of peace and the light of love expanding in the hearts of all of humankind. In this moment, we proclaim the freedom of thought for all. We send forward a blessing of rejuvenation for this planet, the movement of life in the seed moving through the plant and into the fruit, the harvest of good. In this moment, I proclaim peace on earth and goodwill to humankind as we move into a time of peace. I send forward a blessing to all of humankind, knowing that each of us is striving for freedom. Gently I know, and send forward a blessing of love to all of life, for it is all God. I speak a word of blessing on all of the world religions, knowing the divine presence in each and every one. Blessing every church and synagogue, every mosque and temple, every sangha and gurdwara, every house of worship, and every sacred place on this planet that is seen as the home of the goddess. I speak a word of prayer and love and blessing on this sanctuary for spiritual living, for it is here that we come to gather together. There are great things for us to do, and I know that we are prepared.
Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure
for the love of God that is in our hearts, so that we may share it and experience it. A deep sense of thanksgiving for the life of God that is in every cell of our bodies. And a deep sense of thanksgiving for the creative power of God that we use. And so with thanksgiving, I simply release this gently into the law with love, knowing that in peace it's already done, and so it is. Amen. It's time now for our offering, and as our ushers come forward, I'm inviting you to gently take your offering in your hand. We have a sharing affirmation. For those of you online, I want to remind you that you can give through the Zelle app, and Danny is putting up a link to make that easy for you. We are fully supported by your gifts, and so I thank you very much for being willing to make those gifts. Let's say our sharing affirmation. From the love of pure spirit within me, I bless this gift. I send it forth to heal and bless and prosper. It is evidence of my faith and belief. It does good work in the world and returns to me multiplied abundantly. And so it is. Amen. Thank you, Jim.
I got the presence of the Spirit in me. I got the presence of the Spirit in me. I got the presence of the Spirit, and I want the world to hear it. I got the presence of the Spirit in me. I got the joy of the Spirit in me. I got the joy of the Spirit in me. I got the joy of the Spirit, and I want that world to hear it. I got the joy of the Spirit in me. I got the love of the Spirit in me. Sing it with me. I got the love of the Spirit in me. Yes, sing. Got the love of the Spirit, and I want that world to hear it. I got the love of the Spirit in me. I got the love of the Spirit in me. Ooh. Yes. Thank you.
All right. Well, I do want to wish a happy birthday to Sandy Macias on Tuesday. And also, we want to thank Christy for her work on the potluck today. I do want to remind you, our solar fund, we have matching funds for the remaining $13,000 that we need. And so anybody being willing to give for our solar will allow us to pay for this in full. Now, we do have to match that $13,000 to access it, so the sooner the better. And I want to say thank you to all of you that have given already. It's amazing what we have done, and it's just really, truly stunning. So thank you all. We are in the process. We are praying for the good of Southern California Edison so that they can give the final approvals so that we can have that solar installed and then be free of them. So, all right. So, reminding you that we do have a summer concert. Wait, do we have one like now? I'm trying to remember. Are we like yes, July 15th, we have Jennifer Hart this Wednesday. Yes, yay, absolutely yay, because Jennifer Hart is a real talent. She's very fun, and she puts together a fabulous concert that gives us a background in the musician that she is, or the songwriter that she is spotlighting. And so I'm inviting you to come to that. And also we have a whole slew of concerts in August. So here we are, yeah, here we are. We're getting started on August 2nd. We have, pardon, not the 2nd, on August 5th, we have Sold Out. On the 12th, we have David and Jill. And on the 19th, we have the Sing for Joy Choir. So we have a great summer of concerts coming up. And also wanting to let you know that we are starting a new class on August 6th, which is Thursday. It is called Ancient Wisdom in the Science of Mind, and it is a certificated class. It's 5 weeks long and goes from 2 to 4 in the afternoon. Lunch and a movie. We have a new lunch and a movie date, August 15th. The hosts are Christy, yay, who picked the movie, which is Awakening Mind, Know Thyself, and Jan, who is doing the food. So what a blessing that's all going to be. And I invite you to come and enjoy lunch and a movie and a great discussion afterwards. So, okay, I think it's time for our peace song. Everybody want to rise, turn to the back so that we can wave to our friends that are here online.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be. With God has our power, loved ones all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Something wonderful is happening through me right now.
It is this thing called life.